This is hilarious. I'm so sorry. Anyways, here we are. And there was a few technical difficulties, but we are good to go. So today's live training is super exciting because it's all about how stress can make you gain weight. So if you're wondering why you're gaining all this weight, maybe let's take a look at your stress levels. Independent of your diet, if your diet's all great, would you believe that if you're under stress, even with the best diet, you can still gain weight? I know. And you're going to learn more about this right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And this is actually live training that I do for my Slim, Strong, and Sexy program that I have now shifted over to the Fit and Healthy plan. So this is the training I did for them, and you get exclusive insight into what we talked about. So this whole program was all designed on how to help you lose weight and keep it off for life, look and feel 10 years younger. And part of this training was about why we're gaining weight, because we need to identify what is causing all this weight gain. When you know what it is, then you solve the problem and you follow the steps. It's so, so simple. So today we're going to learn about weight gain and stress. Now, I always start with the end in mind. And I use the example of Wonder Woman only because she represents strength and beauty and love and honor and purpose. And she kind of represented the whole Slim, Strong, and Sexy program. So I would love it if you could think about, who do you want to be, or how do you want to show up, or what do you want to look like? Because really, we need to put this image in our mind, because the body will follow the mind. And so I always start with the end in mind. So who is that for you? It may not be Wonder Woman. If you're a male, it probably isn't. And you're watching this, that's totally fine. Who is your role model? It's good to hang on to this. And this is for all parts of your life that you want to improve. So if it's parenting, who are some good parents that you can role model, right? Or maybe there's someone who inspired you to learn a certain skill, and you keep them front of mind, because when you can see yourself doing that skill, thinking of this person, then you will most likely do it. So that is one mindset piece that we're going to start with, okay? And if you don't know who I am, all the new people here watching, my name is Michelle Hart, and I'm so grateful you're here. I am a clinical nutritionist. I've been doing this for over 2 decades. And the reason is because I'm driven by purpose. And I know that there's a lot of mistakes that people make, and it's not their fault. They're just given the wrong information. And that was me years ago when I was given the wrong information. And it actually led to 2 very debilitating conditions. One being osteoporosis when I was young, like really young. I had the bones of an 80-year-old grandma. And then I had no menstrual cycle. And I had to figure it out how to get my body back. It started with following the wrong advice, and then I figured out the right advice, and I turned it all around natural. So this is why I'm here today in front of you, because we're going to learn tips that actually do work, and try them out for yourself. And if you have any questions, please get a hold of me. So I've seen thousands and thousands and thousands of people over my career. So what you're going to learn today actually works. So the program that I created actually was 9 steps. And it's 9 steps that lead you to your perfect health and your perfect body. We are talking about step number 1, self-assessment. We need to take account on where we are now and find out what the body needs to get to where we want to go. It's so, so simple. So you find someone who can help you with this, and they can detect where the body's stuck so that you become unstuck, and that everything works when you follow the right advice. So we are going to be talking about the self-test assessment. Now, I did do previous trainings on this, and which link to 6 metabolic imbalances that are actually tied to gaining weight. And so you may fit 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these, or just one, but really you want to identify the primary one. Okay. So when we first went through the training, you can go back and watch them in the guide under the Facebook group. There is a guide section. They're all laid out one by one, all in order. And if you want to watch the training, I highly, highly recommend it, because the first training I did was actually all about the one hormone that governs all the other hormones when it comes to metabolism. And if you don't get that fixed, nothing will work. So we always started with that one. What is it? Leptin resistant. Leptin is a hormone that the body releases from its fat cells to tell you that you are full and that you don't need to eat. So if you are over 20 pounds, then likely this is not working. And so we need to fix this one hormone first before we go on further with any other hormones. So you can check back the training for that. Then we talked about digestion and how that is the primer system in the body that is going to assist your body in losing weight. Because if that's not working, your hopes of losing weight will likely be doom and gloom, okay? Without starving or depriving. Because really, that's not what this is about. This is about nourishing the body and getting this appetite back of foods that are going to nourish your body, and not ones that will that will drive you in a direction with cravings that will, put your weight overboard, right? So we're going to want to crave foods that are nourishing, not that are not nourishing. And that's with good digestion. Then we talked about food allergies. So food allergies, yeah, they are linked to being overweight. So there's a training on that. And then we talked about Candida last time. So Candida was all about sugar cravings. So your cravings are there for sugar because you have overgrown this yeast-like fungus that is making you eat the sugar. And so if that's you, make sure you go back and look at the training on Candida, because you can turn this around very quickly so that the Candida isn't overgrowing, you're not craving the sugar, and you start to crave the nourishing foods that we talked about earlier. So today's training is all about the stress and how it leads to weight gain, and the one gland that is responsible to get right so that you can start to lose weight again, okay? And feel well balanced with your stress, because stress isn't all bad. If it goes on too long, that is not good. Once in a while, absolutely, it's there for a reason. Today we're going to be talking about your adrenals. Those are the glands that get activated anytime you are under stress. Before I get into the training on that, I do want to share that most people really have a hard time losing weight. It's because they are not really going after what's driving the weight. We're too wrapped up on these next pill or surgery or diet. Well, actually, those are shiny objects. And so if you continue to chase the shiny object, then you will never get long-term results and you will always fail. So we want to make sure that we do this right this time and that it lasts. And that's what this training is all about. It's discovering what your body's saying, where it needs help so that you can fix it and everything can work. It takes work. Yes, it does. But do you want to stay where you are, or do you want to fix it for good? It's two roads. Which one do you want to take? I'm going to guess you're watching this because you want to find your answers. Okay. And that's what this training is about. So we are going to learn about the root cause to gaining weight. And if you're stressed, we've got to really look at the adrenals. Now, another reason why people struggle with their weight is because they don't continue with the plan that they're on and they keep falling off. And so it's either the plan is not suitable to you, or you don't have a coach to keep you moving through those times that you're stuck. Because it's so easy to just say, oh, I give up. No, it's too hard. Okay, but you'll never get your results. And if we're going to rely on motivation, that's fleeting. It's what it is it's you want to be consistent with discipline. And so if you have a hard time with that, that's why coaching is so important. Because it's about accountability. It's about someone just making sure that you're on the right path and that you can get unstuck when you're stuck. I have coaches because we want to learn. We don't want to take the time that they took to learn all their mistakes We want to shortcut our way to our result. That's what coaches are for. We've gone through this already. I've gone through this journey of weight loss, weight gain, all this stuff. You don't want to go through what I did. So I'm just going to actually show you what works, okay? Save you tons and tons of time. So now I'm going to actually change my screen into the actual training for today, which is about that one gland we talked about. Okay, so give me a second here. Getting better at this because I've been doing a few of these now and they're really fun. Okay, so here we are. We are going to talk about this one tiny gland that is responsible for adding weight on if you're stressed, and that is the adrenals. So before we get into the training, it's always important to know if you're actually really stressed or not, because oftentimes we don't really know. And that's because we're used to feeling stressed. And so it's like the normal for us. That is not okay, because you will drive the body down and you will feel it as being 10, 20, 30 years older than you are. Okay. So let's do a quick test to see how your stress levels are and if your adrenals are overactive or underactive, if they're sluggish. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. You need a pen and paper, and every sign or symptom that I, express, then you're going to write a 1 for mild, or sometimes, a 2 for moderate, or often, and a 3 for severe, or very often. And if it doesn't apply to you, just leave it blank. And then at the end, we're going to total it up, and we're going to see if you pass the threshold. And if you do, we're going to find some solutions on how to fix it so you can start to strip away that extra weight and start to manage your stress better and love your days. Okay, so the first question, sign or symptom that you're going to respond 1, 2, or 3, or 0 is, are your eyes sensitive to bright light or headlights that come towards you, or just sunlight? I've seen this a lot when I was in Canada. Quite often I had clients, they had to wear sunglasses even in the winter, because when they took them off, their eyes weren't able to adjust to just the daylight, even in the winter. So that told me immediately that their stress was very, very high. And that's okay. It's an indicator of what we need to work on. It's totally fine. It's good to know, right? So the second one is, if you have a lump in your throat or it hurts, you actually hurt when you're under stress, like your body is in pain when you're under stress, or that one little area in your throat hurts when you're under stress. Okay. If you have a really hard time coping with these acute stressful events and it really wears you out, if you form goose flesh or cold sweats easily, if your voice rises to a high pitch or is even lost, you can't speak when you're stressed, if you're easily shaken by an unexpected noise, if you prefer being alone and you're really, really uneasy when the attention's on you, if your blood pressure fluctuates up and down, if you are a perfectionist and you set very high standards. Yeah, I got to work on that. If you avoid complaints, if you work off worries, if things that are left undone really cause concern, you keep thinking about it and it keeps going over and over in your mind until you actually get it done. If you have allergies, that would mean topical, so skin rash or hay fever or asthma. If you have these allergic responses to things that you shouldn't be allergic to, like hay fever, it's a sign of adrenal stress, by the way, and digestive issues. Mood swings, if you tend to cry easily, just at the drop of a dime, like those movies, and you just bawl your head off. Or just it comes up out of nowhere. If you have really difficulty relaxing, your mind is just going in overdrive. If emotional upset causes complete exhaustion. If you have unusual cravings for salt, you just need salt on everything. If you perspire excessively, sweating of hands and feet, not hot flashes, that's different. But if you are not in menopause and have hot flashes, but you sweat profusely, especially your hands and feet, that's an indication of overdrive stress. If you have more than unusual neck, shoulder pain, or tension, tension, you're really, really tight on your necks and your shoulder because you're doing this all day because you're stressed. That's the reason. Blood pressure decreases when going from a lying position and you stand up and you just have to gather your ground like you're going to faint. So that's an indication of an adrenal response. So I'm going to leave that up to you now to add up your total of your scores. And then we're going to talk about what the adrenals are, why they're overactive or underactive. You'll see the reason for that. And then solutions to fix it. Okay? So I'm just going to wait a few minutes for you to total that up while I have my tea. Spilled a bit there. It's okay. It's life. So it happens. No stress. Okay, so if your total is 8 or higher, you're stressed. And if it's really high, you're really stressed. So this is a really good soft test. So again, this is just information, but it's something really to consider. If you're overweight and your diet's pretty good, and you are, it could be the stress that's driving this. Okay. So what are the adrenals? The adrenals they sit in front of our kidneys near the back. They're tiny little glands that sit there and they get activated anytime you're called to action. Okay. And so they're there as a survival mechanism because you can imagine years ago when a lion was coming after us, we needed these to be activated to run from the lion. So that's what kept us alive. But what's happening is they are constantly being activated. And that's what's driving the weight gain. Okay. So these tiny little glands, they're called fight or flight hormones. That's what they release. These hormones, what are they called? Epinephrine and norepinephrine, or you can call them adrenaline as well. They're kind of interchangeable. So epinephrine or norepinephrine or adrenaline. And when they're activated, what happens is blood pressure rises because again, you got to run from this lion. Blood sugar increases because you need the instant energy, and breathing becomes so much easier because you're running from the lion. And so that's kind of what happens. So what happens is if you keep activating these adrenals because you're under stress, then they actually can become weak and tired and they become underactive. So they initially become overactive, but then just like anything, they actually become weak and tired because it's like hitting a tired horse. What do you call that? I can't remember the term. It's horrible. Probably I blocked it out. But anyways, like whipping a tired horse. Isn't that horrible? Why did I even say that?
Beating a dead horse.
Beating a dead horse. Did we say that? Thank you, Rona. Rona's on the call right now, listening to this. So anyways, here's what happens. They become tired. Your adrenals become tired. And so then what happens is your blood sugar becomes unstable. And not only that, your minerals that the body naturally should be producing at the right times, they become unstable as well. And you also become the libido goes down because your sex hormone drive goes down because of the sex hormones go down. So it's actually pretty far reaching. And the implications are pretty strong. I mean, if you're with a partner and your libido's down, it's the connection together and that sacredness is what bonds you. And that's where the power is. And that's the energy between you two and no one else. So you actually really want to pay attention and bring that back because that is like the golden goose. I mean, that's everything really to have that feeling of intimacy and that sexual drive. And if you're not with a partner, and that's not an interest of you, that's fine. But the blood sugar becomes unstable. And also the minerals become imbalanced. So what does that lead to? Well, one would be the condition I had, which was osteoporosis, because The body needs the minerals to be put in the bones for the bones to be strong. Okay. Otherwise, you're leaking them out, like I did, but I reversed it because I worked on my stress. One thing I did. I did lots of things, but that was one. Anyways, getting back to this, adrenal glands. So they actually make you gain weight if they're overactive or underactive. If they're out of balance, you will gain weight because blood sugar and everything else I described. You're going to feel weak and not very sexy. So let's, really, hopefully you're paying attention now because this is really, really important. So one thing that we need to look at that there isn't enough attention on, and that is this hormone called leptin. So again, the training is a few trainings back. You can look under the guide, but really we need to get this hormone leptin working, especially if you're 20 or more pounds overweight, because that is actually the root cause of the stress. You've got to go to leptin and get that fixed while you also work on the stress. Because if you just work on the adrenals and you don't fix the leptin, you won't get to where you want to go and keep it there. So leptin resistance, that is a possible driving force to your low adrenals. So what happens is when leptin isn't working properly, that means that can't really tell when you're hungry or full. That happens first. And what happens is then the blood sugar imbalance happens. That's where insulin resistance begins. You've heard of insulin resistant. The body isn't able to handle the sugar very well, and it becomes resistant to it. So it stays in the bloodstream and it causes damage to the tissues. That's insulin resistance. So, but it could start with leptin resistance first. So leptin resistance leads to insulin resistance. And then what happens is we actually get fat. We do. Because the body, anytime insulin is high for too long, you can't burn fat. So you get over fat. It's an important point to remember. So when this happens, then it eventually leads to exhaustion, fatigue, and adrenal resistance. So the body can't even handle the hormones that are being released to give you energy. There's a resistance there, okay? So then what happens is if we still don't pay attention, because we're like, no, we have all this work to do. No, I don't want to look at that. Denial. Does that sound familiar? Hey, listen, I had that. Don't worry about it. I had to move through it. Now I'm looking at things with a different lens. Okay. So then comes the pituitary hormones, which regulates the thyroid. So here's the thing. So I really hope that you're paying attention and if you have low thyroid, it could be that you're actually stressed and you don't even know it. And that's actually what's driving the pituitary hormone imbalance, which is regulating the thyroid and growth hormone. So pituitary regulates thyroid and growth hormone. So what is growth hormone? Growth hormone is our main anti-aging hormone. It's also our main fat burning hormone. And what happens is it pulsates during the night to help you burn fat and reduce aging. And if it's not working, then you're getting over fat and you're aging very quickly. Okay? So that is the chain of command. What is it? Leptin resistance, then insulin resistance, then adrenal resistance, and then it hits the pituitary, where there's the thyroid and the growth hormone issues. Okay? That's the chain of command. So we talked about the adrenals and how it can lead to weight gain. One of the reasons why this happens also is the adrenals release another hormone, and it's called cortisol. I know you've heard of the name, the hormone cortisol. We're going to explain a little bit more about what it does. And so the adrenals, when they're under stress, they are going to produce cortisol because cortisol is another hormone that helps us get through stress. But what happens is if the adrenals are under functioning, it's not going to work very well with the cortisol production. You'll either produce too much at the wrong time or too little at the wrong time. We need to make sure that you're producing enough at the right time. So here is the other thing, is you can gain weight by either producing too much cortisol or too little cortisol, okay? Because it is not in careful balance. And so here's what happens if you're producing high cortisol. First of all, how do you know? Well, if you're stressed all the time, and because the body's releasing this one hormone that you feel anxious all the time. You have anxiety all the time. You have like panic attacks quite often. That you know that the cortisol is really high because it's pumping out all this energy that's like too much. And what happens How that leads to weight gain is that it raises blood sugar. What happens when blood sugar raises? Insulin raises as well, and you stop fat burning. That's how it leads to you being overweight. So the other problem with this is if you have high cortisol and it's too high for too long, the other problem is it breaks down your muscle tissue. That is a big, big, big no, no, no. Because muscle tissue is actually, you want to preserve it. You actually want to build it because that's your metabolic engine. All right. Your body requires more food, more calories, more nutrients if it has more muscle. And if you start to break it down, you can't eat very much food because if you do eat more than your body requires, you will gain weight. So the more muscle you have on the body, the easier it is to lose weight and keep it off for life. That's why we eat protein. That's why we exercise with resistance training. That's why this program works so well, because that is integrated into the program. So if you don't pay attention, what happens is, and it's like denial, denial, denial. I don't want to look at that. It's too hard. Okay, well, you'll get fatter, weaker, and frailer. So that's where it goes. I don't make this up. I'm just the delivery. Okay, I'm the messenger. So now, why don't we flip the switch and talk about low cortisol? So how do you know if you have low cortisol? Well, if you wake up tired and you're tired all day, low cortisol is it's exhaustion, and it's like whipping a tired horse or beating a tired horse. It's chronic fatigue, and you're just always tired. And what happens is you're lazy. Like now, how motivated are you to actually get up and cook? How motivated are you to get up and exercise? How motivated are you to have those special connections? Not very, because of the low cortisol. So again, this is an adrenal issue. Okay, the adrenals are weak and they need to be supported. So I hope this is all making sense, because I love more than anything to pull the pieces together so that you can understand this, and then you have compliance to follow the program because you understand how the body works. Hey, we're still learning about the body, but we do know quite a bit. So what happens is if you have low cortisol, then you're going to grab the sugary snacks to get that energy up. You're going to grab more coffee. You're going to grab the wine at night because you're stressed. A little bit of wine's okay, but not a lot. You know my story. And if not, you should watch my stories. I love my wine, but I know I treat it in a way where I respect it and I know how to have some and enjoy it. It's called my vitamin W. Okay, so we know that if you are experiencing what I've just described as either high cortisol because you're wired all day, or low cortisol because you have this tiredness, then that leads to a dysfunctional thyroid. So again, if you have underactive thyroid, if you've been diagnosed with thyroid issues, let's actually look at the adrenals. How are they functioning? And a good SOP test is the one that I started with. So it at least gets you started. Okay. If you need more help, just let me know. Of course, send me a message and we can start the conversation. So if this is happening, your ability to lose weight is compromised. We talked about that. Plus you lose muscle mass. So you're going to have aprons like this, what is it in the front? You're going to have this like belly fat. It's going to like flop over and you will look old. And you won't have the intimacy with the partner that you so desire. So it's like pretty far reaching. So just as a summary, we know that when we can manage our stress and support our adrenals, then we can start to reduce the body fat, normalize your blood pressure, improve your blood sugar balance, and control your appetite. So many studies have been linked to this, and now you're understanding why. So how do they become underactive to begin with? There are 7 primary reasons why. So the first one is a poor diet. A poor diet, maybe that you had before, and it's still not fixed. What is it? It's the sugars. And I don't mean white table sugar. I mean, look at your packaging. How much sugar is in there? Look at your daily diet and really take a look. And we need to move away from this denial. So it's even fruit. Fruit is a sugar, okay? Anything in a package would likely be processed and high in sugars, okay? So really look at that. Or even a diet too high in carbohydrates. What is that? Whole grains, even grains. Our bodies are not designed to eat a lot of grains. That was perpetuated by the agricultural, um, that movement, and it's not best for our health. We need to go back, take a step back, and think of what our hunters and gatherers ate. Not so much more the agricultural age, but pre-agricultural. That's how we're designed to eat. So too much caffeine could also drive the adrenals, and too much alcohol. Smoking would be another cause of adrenal gland becoming too activated and then under functioning. Why? Did you know that they have sugar in cigarettes? They put sugar in there so that you're addicted to smoking. And this is something I discovered before I left Canada, before I came to Mexico. When I left Canada, I had a client who was a smoker, and I started to do a little bit of research on this, and we found that cigarettes have sugar in them. Yeah, who would know? So now we go into the third reason why these adrenals are underactive, and they're not working very well, and that is the rushing busy person's syndrome. So are you in a hurry all the time? Do you have any downtime? Are you rushing from one thing to the next? Well, the adrenals are always activated, and then they become underactive. So really take a look. Are you taking little breaks? If not, you're going to break down, and that's how it works. Again, I don't make up the rules. Okay, so the fourth reason why the adrenals are underactive or not functioning well is because of lack of sleep. This is a big one. And in fact, you look how many sleep products are out there now, and how it's a chronic issue. We are not sleeping as well as we used to, okay, because we're under chronic stress. And what happens is if you have a short night's sleep, you have low cortisol in the morning, so you have a hard time getting out of bed. That is a problem, because in the morning at 6 a.m., that's when cortisol is supposed to be at its highest. That's the peak, 6 a.m. It's your get up and go hormone. If it's underactive, it's hard for you to get out of bed. And so we need to really look at these adrenals, and then we need to look at getting this sleep, okay? So, and if you don't, you will have this morning fog, you will feel hazy, you'll have a poor memory, and you will crave carbohydrates. You will want sugar because you're going to want that lift. You're going to want caffeine, and then you're going to want the alcohol in the evening. It's perpetual. It's a vicious cycle. It really is. So the fifth reason why the adrenals aren't working as well as they should, that is you lack a regular routine. That is so important. So when I see my clients, I actually put them on a daily routine, a schedule. Yeah, when you have schedule, you have freedom, because you know what's coming up next. The body has safety in that. Think about babies. We put them on a regular routine right when at the get-go. They sleep well. Think about pets. Think about puppies. We put them on regular routine so that everything works well as well. And we're the same, okay? And so we need to pay attention, and we want to eat at the same time. We need to sleep at the same time. We want to exercise at the same time. Keep a regular routine. And if you need help with that, I'd be more than happy to help. So as I mentioned, all my clients, they get a cheat sheet. It's called the daily routine, and it's just like a plug and play. Oh, this is when I have my water. This is when I exercise. This is when I eat. This is when I take a break. This is when I sleep. So it's really, really, really good. Very important. So the sixth reason why your adrenals may be sluggish, either overactive or underactive, because you're overtraining. We talked about exercise, how important it is, how you need to get some exercise in to lose weight. But what if you exercise too much? Then what happens is your body wears out, and you're breaking down more than you're building up. And that wears out the adrenals, okay? And so how do you know? Well, if you go to the gym and after your workout, you are wiped out for the rest of the day. That's a sure sign your adrenals are quite weak. We need to build them up again, okay? Leptin resistance. That is another reason why your adrenals may be underactive, because you haven't fixed the one hormone that we need to fix for adrenals to work. And we talked about that earlier. Now, as a summary, we're going to go through these one more time. the primary causes for underactive adrenals or adrenals that are underfunctioning: poor diet, smoking, too busy, lack of sleep, lack of routine, overtraining, and leptin resistant, leptin being the main hormone. Okay, now we're going to get into some solutions. Well, obviously the first one is we need to eat properly. We need to eat foods that aren't all sugary. So make sure that your diet's in check. And if you need help with that, let me know. So really, you likely need to adjust your diet. If you have leptin resistance, that means that you can't tell when you're hungry and full. You really need to get that fixed, okay? And so if you need help with that, let me know, because there's a strategy that I use to get leptin working so everything else can work. The other thing is we want to make sure that eat small meals throughout the day, because what can happen is, because your adrenals aren't functioning properly, your blood sugar is all out of whack. The last thing you want to do is keep it that way. So you want to make sure that you give your body small meals throughout the day, nourishing meals while you're fixing the adrenals, and then you can start to spread the meals apart. But you may want to think about having smaller meals throughout the day. The other thing we're going to think about is, oh my gosh, we need to detoxify. Why? When you're under stress, you actually have stopped detoxing. Yes, that is not good. Because what happens then is you are re-intoxicating all the waste products back into your body, and the body starts to break down very quickly. And so we want to make sure that we're releasing the waste products, the products that the body, the chemicals and all that you're exposed to all day. We need to release them out of the body. We don't want them recirculating back in, because if they do, they actually can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause dementia. That is one significant condition if you're too toxic. Alzheimer's, like poor memory, all these, because your brain it's toxic. And so the body feels toxic. We need to get rid of these toxins. And so one of the ways that we do that is, I'm just going to show you what I have here. Yes, I brought my dispensary from Canada to Mexico. And so what I do is I use these drops, and they actually clear out the toxins from the body for you. I call them my SWAT team. And they're just these homeopathic drops that you take, and it eliminates the toxins for you. While you clean up your diet, you have a daily routine and do everything else right. So they really work for you. So that's how we detoxify, okay? And we also want to make sure that what is driving the stress. Are you overworking? Well, maybe take a bit of a break and really look at that. And a really good mentor I had, Craig Ballantyne. So he's got the perfect week formula or the perfect day formula. You can buy this on Amazon, or you can download the audiobook. Game changing, because he'll actually show you that you can cut your work time. If you can work more efficiently, you can cut your work time so that you have more time to be with family and friends and do things you love. And so I've actually been following, I hired him to help me, and it's game changing. So Craig Ballantyne, the perfect day formula or the perfect week formula. So we got to look at what's driving it. Also, are you in nature? Do you get outside? If not, we need to get outside, especially first thing in the morning. And so for me, I make it a practice. I see the sun rise. I'm a block away from the Caribbean Sea. I walk over, I see the sun rise, and I manifest my day that morning. And then at the end of the day, after I've done a full day's work, which I love to do, I love this more than anything, I release my day at sunset. And so I go back to the sea and I walk along the sea, and I envision my day and what went right, maybe what didn't go right, what I could make better, and kind of revel in the work that I did. And then what happens is I let that go. It's a work in progress, but I let it go so that I can go back and be with my family, wear a different hat. So I'm not wearing my work hat. I put my family hat on, the mom hat, and I consciously do this so that I don't bring my work to the table. I bring family time to the table. So this is something I learned. It was a journey for me because I was so into my work, which I love to do, but it was overtaking my days, okay, and overtaking my family life. And so my family is a high value of mine. And I'm sure you've seen my stories. They are. And I'm sure they are for you as well. And so I had to flip the switch myself. But this is by going out in nature. This is how it worked for me. So maybe that could work for you. Okay, so we're going to think about this daily routine. We need to be on a schedule. A schedule will keep you free. A schedule, you'll know what comes up next. It's freeing. And I know for me, it changed everything. And so for me, Craig Ballantyne helped, but also you've seen this before. I have a daily planner. And so it's a high performance planner, and it's by Brenda Bouchard. And so this is what I use to map out my day. You'll see it right here. There's my day today. So I've already scheduled what I'm going to do today. And so I just look at my schedule, and this is what I do when, and I follow it, and I always feel good when I do that. So it's something you may want to think about. When it comes to exercise and you are stressed, I don't recommend chronic cardio. Cardio will make you more stressed, and it will actually exhaust the adrenals. So I recommend things like short amounts of resistance training or maybe some yoga. So you can use your body weight as resistance training. You don't need to lift weights. You can lift your body. But really you want to do more mindful exercise, not like strength, not like frenetic exercise like cardio. We're going to want to think about getting that sleep and getting the quality sleep. Okay. 8 hours in the winter, 9.5 hours in the winter, 8 hours in the summer. Supplements. Oh, yes, these are really important. So the supplements I recommend are things like digestive enzymes, like this one. So anyone interested, I can send you a link and you can get these sent to your door. So digestive enzymes are really important. Why? Because you're not digesting your food when you're stressed. And we need the food to nourish the body. So that's why we want to take some digestive enzymes, but not any digestive enzymes, ones that actually work. And they have all the ingredients in there to work. You don't want any missing pieces. Otherwise, you're going to waste your time and money. Nobody wants to do that. So we want to make sure we're on the right ones. So the supplements really help. The other good one is Pure Tranquility. So this one actually does calm you down. And it is a natural, it's got GABA in there, which helps to calm you down. And I'm just going to show you how it works. So I've got this here for myself, just in case I need it. Just one squirt, like that. It's like magic. Works for you, calms you down. It really helps with mental cognition as well, because when you're calm, you can think better and you're more creative. So think about those. And the other thing I want to mention is if you scored high, it could be that you were out of touch with you being stressed. We don't want this to go further, because what happens then is the body really does break down, and it could break down so much that later you find you have osteoporosis like I did, or your hormones are so trashed. I mean, really take a look at this now, because you've empowered with some information that you can take with right now so that you can start to enjoy your days more and actually look and feel much younger than you are. And you're here to help lose weight. The weight will fall off because the hormones are balanced, right? Your blood sugar is balanced, adrenals are balanced, everything's balanced. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this share here, and I'm going to go back to here. And I just want to thank you so much for joining. And if there's any questions, please make sure you get a hold of me. And one more thing I just realized that I want to share with you, and that is if you need more information and you are still struggling, but what I'm saying to you is actually making sense, but you want a plan that will be pulled together for you to get the results that you're after, then what I highly recommend is, you know what, it just takes one simple booking of a call. And so if this interests you at all, I'm happy to spend some time with you. I can find out more information about what's going on and actually set you in the right direction. And so I encourage you to send me a message for a quick strategy call. We can have a chat, and I will actually help find out where your body is stuck. And even if we don't work together, at least you have that information and you can keep moving forward. But if it feels right for you, then we can keep going forward together as a team. So thank you so much for joining. And I want to thank you for this time. And also next week, we're going to be talking about thyroid. So if you do have a thyroid issue, we're going to do a deep dive into thyroid. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next week. And again, leave me a message if you have any questions or comments. See you next week.